friends and welcome back to Tutors once again. So today we'll be discussing about the transportation part in this chapter of life processes. So hope you have seen the previous videos where we were discussing about the nutrition, and so today we'll be starting with the transportation. So here we'll be discussing this topic in two different subtopics. First will be regarding the transportation in human beings, and then the next part will be regarding the transportation in plants. So we'll start with the first one, that is the transportation in human beings. So all of you know already that whenever we talk about the transportation, so we know that the blood is the main or blood is the medium where all sorts of transportation is really happening. So you all know it is a connective tissue again, and even these points are already dealt in various parts in your syllabus itself. So once again we'll just see what and all are there. So when we talk about blood, and when we talk about the components in blood or the components of blood, we mainly have to discuss about the plasma. So plasma is like a medium, a fluid medium, where they contain other blood cells. So when we talk about the blood cells, what are the blood cells? We know that we have the white blood cells in our body, we have the red blood cell, then we have the platelets. So plasma is basically the fluid medium where the other blood cells are suspended or are present. So when we consider the composition of plasma, the plasma has the water content in it, various ions in it, then protein content, nutrients, waste, various gases, etc. So that's the composition of the plasma. And as we already told, uh, when we just remove the plasma or just that the fluid content, then we get the blood cells remaining. So the blood cells, basically the first one is the white blood cell. Now white blood cell, what are its function? White blood cell help in fighting the infections in our body. So white blood cell is like a they is like a bodyguard for us. It always protects our body from any other infection or any other foreign body that will enter into our body and that can that can cause harm to our body. So that's the role of the white blood cell. Then we have the platelets. Now platelets, what is its function? Platelets, actually the main function is in the clotting of blood. So all you might have got a small cut on your skin where you might have started bleeding. Full blood will start to ooze out when we get a cut on our skin. So what happens when blood starts to ooze out? If there is no way of preventing that, if there is no natural way of preventing that, the blood will our body will lose a large amount of blood, and and that's a serious issue, and we may even die because of that. So our body already have a defense mechanism or a mechanism to prevent this. So that's the role of platelets. Platelets will prevent the clotting, sorry, will prevent the bleeding of blood by clotting. So platelets does the job of clotting the blood. Now next, that is of the red blood cell. Red blood cell, we all know that they contains the hemoglobin, and hemoglobin is very vital. It gives the color to the blood, and again it is a pigment, and also it is a respiratory pigment, and it helps in the transportation of oxygen, carbon dioxide, etc. So even red blood cell, its count, these are all necessary. We must always make sure that we have enough red blood cell count in our body, enough white blood cell count in our body, HB count, everything must be monitored, and we should take utmost care of our body so that we lead a very happy and peaceful life. Okay, so the next is the blood vessels. We all know that blood is not flowing in an open space, rather it is flowing within the blood vessels. So when we talk about the blood vessels, we mainly have three types of blood vessels. First one is the arteries. and next one is the veins, and then is the capillaries. So arteries are actually very thick walled and veins are thin walled. We'll first discuss about the arteries and veins because there are more chances that you get question from this side, like differentiate between arteries and veins or what are arteries and veins, etc. And then we'll move to the capillaries part. So talking about the arteries and veins first, arteries are thick walled and veins are thin walled. Now, one very important thing that you have to keep it in your mind is that arteries always carry blood away from the heart. That is, arteries always carry blood from the heart to a different site. Okay. Then, whereas the veins will carry blood to the heart. Vein is always collecting the blood from somewhere and it is carrying it to the heart. So it's a very important point that you have to keep it in your mind that arteries will carry blood away from the heart and veins will carry blood to the heart. Now, arteries always carry oxygenated blood and veins always carry deoxygenated blood. Okay, so valves are present in arteries and veins do not have the valves. So we'll discuss more about the valves in the coming part. And now moving to the capillaries. These are the smallest blood vessels in the blood and they convey blood between arterioles and venules. So I told that these artery will carry blood away from the heart, vein will carry blood to the heart. So okay, so we'll see about their diagram and there I'll tell you about their structure mode. So now you can see in this diagram first about the artery and the vein. See about the arteries and veins first. Okay, so artery are having thick walls compared to the veins. So now why is it so? So in the previous slide we already told that arteries carry blood away from the heart, that it is carrying blood from the heart to a different site, and vein ulta. So when the artery is carrying blood from the heart, in heart the blood is flowing from the heart to the artery with a higher pressure. So in order to withstand this pressure, if the artery is having a thick walls, so imagine a situation where artery is not having a thick wall, rather it is having a thinner wall like the vein, it won't be able to withstand that pressure. So in order to withstand that pressure of flow of blood to the artery, arteries always have a thick wall. And vein, they comparatively the flow is with a lower pressure, so they have a thinner wall. So then talking about the capillaries. So now you can see that arteries and veins and they are connected by the capillaries. So the artery, they carry the oxygenated blood, right? So these oxygenated blood, they'll obviously, why are we purifying blood actually? We are purifying blood so that all our body parts get enough oxygen rich blood. Oxygenated blood always means they are rich in oxygen, and deoxygenated blood always mean that they are having a lower concentration of oxygen or they lack oxygen. So oxygen rich blood has to reach all our body parts, so that is done by the arteries. So now when arteries carry these blood to different organ or body parts, they will start to branch. Once it reaches near the body organ, they will start branching into smaller and smaller tubes or tubules, and at last they'll reach the organ. So now the blood flow is happening through the capillaries. So these capillaries are the smallest blood vessels. They're very tiny, they are very thin tubes. Now what happens from this body organs, the blood has to be carried out for oxygenation. Why? Because the veins are collecting all these deoxygenated blood from different body parts and it is carrying back so that the new oxygenated blood now reaches the body. Our body parts do not need deoxygenated blood, they always need oxygenated blood. So the deoxygenated blood or oxygen deficient blood has to be removed from the body parts. So that is done by the veins. So in this way, the capillaries will act as a bridge between the artery and the vein. So that's about the capillaries, arteries, and the veins. So, from the very beginning, we have studied about the type of heart present, whether it's a two-chambered heart, whether it is a three-chambered heart, four-chambered heart, three-chambered, separated heart, etc. Depending upon the different organisms and the environment where the organism live and their body organization, different organisms have different type of different group of organisms have different type of heart. For example, if we see about the fishes, they have the two chambered heart. Now if we see the case of a human being, we have the four chambered heart. The amphibians generally have the three chambered heart, but few have the three chambered separated heart, or it's an incompletely four chambered heart. So what happens when what are the like we'll just see the difference between our four chambered heart and the rest three chambered or incompletely four chambered heart. So in the case of human beings, we have four chambers. And what happens in these four chambers is that we have proper distinction between the oxygenated blood and the deoxygenated blood. That is, the oxygenated blood is flowing through one side, deoxygenated blood is flowing through another side. There is no mixing happening. And whereas in the case of other type of heart, as you can see here only in this three chambered separated and even in this three chambered heart, the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, they are getting mixed in this in this third chamber, right? Now this chamber, if it was fully closed, this wouldn't have happened. But when it is not closed properly, or it is incompletely chambered, the mixing happens. And the same thing happens with the three chambered heart also. Here again the mixing is happening. As you can see in the third chamber, the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood is getting mixed. So that's the main difference. You can see in the case of a completely four chambered heart and the incompletely four or three or two chambered heart. So now another important point to be dealt in this particular point. Have you ever heard about warm-blooded animals and cold-blooded animals? Okay, I hope at least some of you told the answer. So, in the case of a four-chambered heart, for example, where the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood are completely separate and they are not mixing together, here the mixing is not taking place. Now this type of heart, it is found in higher animals. See, for example, it is seen in human beings, right? So here we human beings have a higher energy need, and those might be some of the reasons why we have a four chambered heart. And we have a constant body temperature. We maintain our body temperature. At any time we have a constant body temperature. So we are called as the warm-blooded animals. Our body temperature won't fluctuate depending upon the outer environment. Like for example, it is not that when it is a winter season, our body temperature will go to 10 or -1 or -2, nothing. And if it is a hot summer day, our temperature goes to 55, 60. No, we have a very constant temperature. And whereas, so we are called as a warm-blooded animals. And in the case of a three chambered, or if it when it is not a four chambered heart, the mixing is happening every time. The oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, they are getting mixed. So now here in these animals again, the body temperature is not maintained, or the body temperature is not constant. They keep on changing. So they are called as a cold-blooded animals. So cold-blooded animals, they do not have a constant body temperature. Their temperature varies with the temperature of the environment. And whereas the warm-blooded animals, we have a constant body temperature, and our body temperature do not change according to the outer environment. Okay, so talking about the body temperature, I forgot to mention about. Okay, I'll ask you only. Uh, Anyone knows what is our constant body temperature, or what is our body temperature? We human beings, we generally have dash as our body temperature. Okay, so we generally have around 37 degrees Celsius as our constant body temperature, and with that do not change according to outer environment. Okay, right. So we'll move to the next part. So whenever we talk about circulation, we know that it is the heart, or heart is the organ which is concerned with the circulation. So here we mainly have to study the pathway of the blood, like from where it is flowing to where it is going, and whether it is oxygenated blood or oxygen deficient blood, and those things. Okay, so the important parts you have to see here is about the superior vena cava or the vena cava, then the pulmonary vein, then we have the right atrium. Okay, we told that our human heart, it is four chambered. We have the four chambers, and those are right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, and left ventricle. So the four chambers of heart are right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, and left ventricle. Okay, so those are the four chambers. Then we have the vena cava, superior and inferior vena cava. Then we have the pulmonary artery, we have the pulmonary vein, and again we have the artery called as the aorta. So aorta is the largest artery in our body. Aorta is the largest artery in our body. Now we'll see one more thing, that aorta always carries the oxygenated blood. Now pulmonary artery always carries the deoxygenated blood. Pulmonary vein always carry the oxygenated blood. We'll see more about it. Okay, so here you can see that the deoxygenated blood. Okay, so pay a bit attention here. Deoxygenated blood, we'll start with the left side. Okay, so the okay, we'll start with the right side. Okay, so the deoxygenated blood from various body parts, because our body parts, wherever there is deoxygenated blood or oxygen deficient blood, that is carried. Okay, so these blood, they will reach the heart through this vena cava. So through the superior vena cava, the deoxygenated blood, it is reaching the right atrium. Now, from the right atrium, once the right atrium is full, the blood will go to the right ventricle. Now, how it is happening? When the blood is flowing to the right ventricle, the right atrium will contract, okay, or there is a squeezing happening there, or it will contract, and what happens? The blood will flow through the tricuspid valve. Now, the valve present between the right atrium and the right ventricle is the tricuspid valve. Now, why is the name so, the tricuspid valve? Because it is having three flaps in it. A three flap-like structure is present for this valve. So, it is called as a tricuspid valve. Now, the blood, when the blood is full in right atrium, it will contract, it will pass through the tricuspid valve, and it will reach the right ventricle. Now an important point about this valve present. So here we told the tricuspid valve is present. Once the blood flows from the right to right ventricle, this valve will close. That is, valves are always unidirectional. It will prevent the backflow of blood. That is, it is not that the blood now can go back to right atrium. No, it won't happen. Once it reaches right ventricle, this tricuspid valve will close, because valves always allow the unidirectional flow of blood, and it will prevent the backflow of blood, and it will close here. Okay, so now the blood has reached the right ventricle. Now what happens? The pulmonary artery will carry this blood when the right ventricle contracts. Now, once the blood is full in right ventricle, it will contract, and the blood will go through the pulmonary artery out. Okay, so keep that. Okay, where it goes, we'll see. Okay, Now what happens? This is the pathway of the deoxygenated blood. Now this blood, whatever has gone out through the pulmonary artery, is going to a site where oxygenation is taking place. That where the oxygen rich blood is being formed. Okay. Now oxygenation process is occurring. Now what happens with the oxygenated blood? Now pulmonary vein is carrying the oxygen rich blood to the heart. Vein always carry blood to the heart. Now pulmonary vein, they carry the oxygenated blood. They always carry the oxygenated blood. They will carry the oxygenated blood and it will reach the left atrium. Now once the blood is filled in left atrium, it will contract, and here the valve present is the bicuspid valve. In the case of right atrium and right ventricle, there we had the tricuspid valve. In the case of left atrium and left ventricle, we have the bicuspid valve. And there we told that in the case of a tricuspid valve, they have a three flap like structure. In the case of a bicuspid valve, it is a two flap like structure is present. So the blood is flowing from the left atrium to left ventricle. Again, backflow is not happening. The blood is not going back. The valve has now closed. Now from the left ventricle, the aorta, it is the largest artery I told, it carries this blood to various body parts. So oxygenated blood reaches different body parts wherever oxygen is required. Okay. Okay, that's the blood flow. Once again, I'll tell, from the vena cava to right atrium, through tricuspid valve to right ventricle, through pulmonary artery, it goes out of the heart. Now, oxygenated blood through the pulmonary vein to left atrium, through bicuspid valve, it reaches left ventricle. Aorta carries the oxygenated blood to different body parts. Okay, so now we'll see the circulation. When we talk about the circulation, it is told that double circulation is happening in man, or circulation in human being is called as a double circulation. And why it is so? Because the blood passes through the heart twice in one complete cycle of the circulation. This blood is passing through the heart two times. One is acts as oxygenated blood and another is as deoxygenated blood in a single cycle of circulation. So it is called as a double circulation in human beings. So we'll see how it is happening. Now, in the previous one also we saw that the vena cava, it is carrying the deoxygenated blood from different body parts. So here you can see the capillaries of peripheral tissues. So imagine this is one of our body organ, or these are the different body parts present in our body. Okay, so the deoxygenated blood from different body parts, it is carried by the vena cava. It is reaching our atrium, right atrium, then it is passing through the right ventricle. Now through the right ventricle, the pulmonary artery, it is carrying the deoxygenated blood to the lungs, and from the lungs only the oxygenation is happening. That is, carbon dioxide diffuses into the lungs and oxygen diffuses into the blood. That is happening in respiration. Remember, there in respiration we told how the uh, switching happens, how the carbon dioxide is diffusing into the into the lungs or alveoli, and how the oxygen is diffusing into the blood vessels. So there the exchange happens. So what happens now? The blood now all the carbon dioxide, it is diffused into the alveoli. It is going out through our exhalation process. Now the blood is now rich in oxygen. Now our blood got enough oxygen. So what happens? The oxygenated blood, it will travel through the pulmonary vein. It will reach the left atrium, and from the left atrium through the bicuspid valve, it will reach the left ventricle, and from the left ventricle, the aorta, it is the largest artery is present. Again and again I'm repeating. So aorta, it will carry the blood to different body parts. Okay, so that's the circulation happening. Once again I'll repeat, from different body parts, deoxygenated blood through the vena cava into the right atrium, through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle, through the pulmonary artery into the lungs, and from the lungs the oxygenated blood through the pulmonary vein into the left atrium, through the bicuspid valve into the left ventricle, Now the aorta carries the oxygenated blood to different body parts. Now our different body parts is satisfied with oxygen rich blood. So that is about the transportation in human beings.